Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the final podcast of the 23-24 regular season because it is finished. I'm joined by Dan and Charlie as always. Lads, the season's over, but the most anticipated part of the whole season, the playoffs. We've got 3 days till playoffs. How are we feeling?
I
I am
can't wait.
terrified.
I'm
I'm terrified.
buzzing.
Dan,
Um,
I bet you're buzzing, Dan, because
Oh, mate.
technically you haven't got a team there, and it's fun when it's that happens. But as for us Swindon fans, Charlie, how nervous are you going into that MK game?
Dan's just gonna find it hilarious. I think hanging out with us over these. He's at four of the games. He's in Toronto, but I think anyone who watches me when I watch playoffs just finds me hilarious because I shout stupid things. I go mental over referee calls, which should never ever be a call, and yeah, it's fun times. Playoff hockey's best hockey.
Just complete head loss. We've kind of spoilt it, but the drinks are back. I've got my Pepsi Max. Charlie, you've got your
My
Tang
TikTok shot Tango Mango, baby.
Tango Mango. But yeah, I love to see it. Right, so in this episode, basically, we're going to be doing our players of the season. Talking about a few players who've been surprisingly good this season. Who's gone under the radar. We've got our awards, which I did actually post on our Instagram yesterday, but we're still going to talk about them. And then we're also going to do our lines of the season. So our top line of the season. I think we're going to have similar ones. And then to end the podcast, we're going to have our playoff predictions as it does start, pardon me, in just 3 days' time. Right, should we get into the news though quickly? There's a few stuff. Right, me and Charlie have had to quickly come back. There's been some breaking news. You just searched it on your phone. I'll add it somewhere in this episode. Let us know the news, Charlie.
Martin's sisters is back in training, which is hinting towards him coming back for the playoffs. And if you don't know how crucial this was, the line of Ferrara, Sisters, and Slavkovsky was, in my opinion, top three lines in the league when it started this season. So this could be the difference for Peterborough going into playoffs.
Yeah, obviously we've done our playoff predictions and everything. Thank you, Charlie. But we had to come on and quickly add that. I'll add it somewhere in this mix of the podcast. But Sisters, that is huge. He was at the game on Sunday when we went to it. So he is looking like he could be in Peterborough's team for the playoffs. That spices it up a bit. I don't know if that changes anyone's playoff predictions, but it certainly makes Peterborough stronger. And I bet Peterborough fans are very happy with that one. So I thought I had to quickly hop on that one. We'll send it back to the podcast. Lee Bonner has signed an extension for the whole Seahawks. Lads, he hasn't had a productive season for his standards in the past few seasons, but Dan, it is still a really, really good sign-in and another player Hull can just lock down for the next season or two.
Yeah, you can sort of see what Matty's doing. He's locking down them big boys. I'm sure he's going to be looking at Brock for the next one. I'm sure he's going to want him. But
Yeah.
Bonner, he's not been his best season. We know he can do better. But I think next season as a whole, I think Hull are going to do better. So I think all the players will sort of chip into that, and I think Bonner will be up there with the points again.
Yeah, Charlie, he's had I think he got a 6 game or 8 game ban this season. He had an injury at some point as well. Yeah, we know that he is a really, really solid player. And I think everyone just knows that there's even more to come from him as well because he's still quite young.
I think he's got a lot more to show. I don't think we got the best Lee Bonner this year at Hull. I think he's got more points in his game. I think it was one of his first seasons where he wasn't a point a game. So for him personally, I can imagine he'll want to get back to that point. And for Hull, he's a funny character. I'm sure he's great in the dressing room. He has some questionable trims when it comes playoff time. Yeah, he's the type of guy you want on your team. And I must say, he did the best ever hit on Malazinski. I don't like him. I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, no, no.
I actually like Lee Bonner. He's
We
good.
love Lee Bonner. I actually got that hit on record. It was in a league game a couple seasons ago. A proper good hit. And Malas doesn't really get hit very often, like really well, but that one was a really clean one, and he sent him toppling.
I asked him to join Swindon at Coventry as well. About 3 seasons ago, I said, "Hey, Lee Bonner, can you join Swindon?" So Yeah, he
Yes.
never replied on that one, which was a bit
Yeah,
disappointing.
another season where we probably won't get him. But no, that was a really good signing. And again, just getting that core back together. Dom Gabai is the most recent and the last player to get the 100 points for this season. And Dan, I think that is thoroughly deserved. He finished actually on 105, the fifth top point scorer in the league. As a coach as well, I sometimes think it is quite hard to be able to coach a team to the level which he has this season and to still be so elite in your game as well, because you're having to focus on the player coaching. So a lot of player coaches get quite a lot of criticism, not criticism, but can they fully focus on the coaching whilst they have to focus on their own game? It seems like he's done both this season and absolutely smashed it, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done really well. I think it's probably one of his best seasons as a player, as well as being
It is the
obviously
best. I don't think he's
his
ever hit
first
100
season as a
points.
player coach as well.
Yeah.
So obviously, yeah, fair play to him. He's done a real season. I'm sure next season again is going to be probably even better for the bees. I think he's just going to be looking at improving, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's a lot more to be as well.
Yeah. Charlie, I wanted to ask you about the 100 point players. I think last year we had four. Two of them were from Leeds. Obviously, you
Yeah,
had
I'll get them up now.
Malazinski. What was that?
I'm getting the players up. Yeah.
But this season we've actually got seven. Why do you think the reason is, Charlie, for so many players with 100 points compared to the last couple seasons? Do you think it is just the level of forwards are going really fastly up in our league, competitive wise, and the D men are just slowly going up? Do you think that's a reason for it, Charlie?
Um, I think a lot of the players who got in there, Herman would have got it anyway last year.
Mm.
One of the players who would have got their Grant Cooper left. So I actually think there probably would have been more players last year if people played full seasons. I think this year we got more full seasons out of players. And then two of the guys on the list are Elite League boys who came down.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense. And Sveki's had a great year. He's had a phenomenal year points wise. And Thomas is on there. So yeah, I think some players have definitely stepped up their games, and you've had players who I think some of the top players in the league have been more fully fit the full year as well.
Yeah.
I think they've played most of the games, which has helped us hit that 100 point mark.
Yeah, well, just to go through it, the top 10, we got Brown, who finishes back to back. We'll quickly focus on him actually. Back to back top point scorer in the league. He got that point, Charlie. You mentioned on the interview with him that will he get over his record from last season of 121, and he got one more point in four less games, Dan. How far can this guy go before he eventually does step up to the Elite League?
Leeds fans will be hoping that he stays forever. Um, I don't blame him for that either. But obviously, I think there will be a time where he's obviously going to be looking to go somewhere else. But at the moment, I don't think he's really like listening to the interview and stuff. I don't think he's really thinking about it. I think he's loving it at Leeds and he's just focusing on his time at Leeds at the minute.
Yeah, Charlie, he's just relentless, isn't he? He is a different breed at 23 years old. I don't fit. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really know a type of player who's just all well-rounded as good as Kieran Brown in the last few years. Malazinski's a different player, so you're not allowed to say him, but he is just so different, isn't he? We haven't really seen a player like him, point production wise, but he is so effective for the rest of the team as well,
He's the
to
best
that level.
He's the best goal scorer in this league. He
Yeah.
scored 61 goals this year. And like I said before, I just want to quickly get the statistic up. He got 122 points. The next closest on Leeds was 89. And that's not any thing, but last year he had Cole Shudra right next to him and Matt Hayward right next
Matt
to him.
Hayward.
Hayward had a great year on 89, by the way. But Kieran Brown has kept his point production to the higher level without the players matching his point level on his team.
Yeah.
He's just a phenomenal British talent, a really good guy, and yeah, he's gonna tear up the league for as many seasons as he wants to play in it, to be honest.
Yeah. Dan, I know we didn't want to bring it up when Charlie had to go the other day. Charlie, congratulations. You did predict the top point scorer. Me and Dan actually went with Rory Herman, who finished second, only 3 points behind. Oh no, look at him. If you're watching on
Yeah.
the YouTube, I do apologise. But no, Charlie, well done. You predicted Kieran Brown, but Rory Herman, we will get onto him now. I think we expected him to do this, but the fact he has gone and done it, and probably even a bit more as well, he has just been unreal, isn't he, Dan? And 59 goals, 60 assists. It shows that he's not just a goal scorer, he's got an all-round game as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for Telford, he was unreal. And that was obviously within like 20 games, whatever it was. So
Yeah.
to see him in a full season in National League in an MK team, I think he was bound to hit over 100 points, I think.
Yeah.
And the line that he's on as well, obviously that explains with the assists as well, because you've got Venus there, you've got Lawrence there, and yeah, he's just a really good all-rounded player as well. He's got really, really good strength. He
Yeah.
drives the net really well, and he just uses every part of his game to the perfection,
Yeah.
and uses it really well.
Well, Kieran Brown did get the top goal scorer by 2 goals. He got 61. Rory Herman got 59. Yeah, looking at the top point scorers though, the lastly on it, Ross Venus, the most assists, Charlie, was 72. John Dunbar down there, with 71 assists. I didn't actually realise he had so many assists. I think that explains the reason why Gardiner has got so many goals this season, because John Dunbar's just been putting it on a plate. Are you surprised with how many assists John's got? Because when he come down, I thought he'd be more of a scorer, but it's shown how much of a creative player he is.
Um, he's sick. He's a good player, and I think it depends on kind of what role you put him in.
Yeah,
When you shove him with sniper like Gardenia or I believe it's Callie Robertson a bit, Craig Peacock. I think your role is just to feed him.
yeah,
It's a bit like Malas sometimes. Doesn't need to shoot as much because you just got to feed Nelly in the slot.
yeah.
I think Gardenia's done that really well this year. It's just been like, well, I know how to shoot a puck, so just put it on my stick and I'll get it in the back of the net, and he done that. So yeah, John Dunbar came down from the Elite League, and it does show. You look at the top point scorers. Herman, I believe he came down from the Elite League.
Yeah,
I
he
know
played with Cardiff for a bit.
there, but Herman, Luke Ferrara, Ross Venus, John Dunbar all came down from the Elite League, and they're showing why they're good players and why they're top level players. And you've got a lot of respect for a player like John Dunbar, and he came up with some big goals for them as well. I think he slowed a bit down on the end of the season, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, I think actually he scored a lot of goals at the start of the season, and
Yeah,
then as you said, he kind of switched the role a bit where he was just playmaking a lot. So perhaps just because he wasn't getting the goals, we thought, oh, maybe he's dropped. But actually, the assists are ridiculous. 71 assists. That is very, very good for a team which didn't make the playoffs as well. I know they just missed out. A bit of sad news. Will Stead has sadly picked up an injury in the final game of the season. I'm not sure how serious it is. It was on the Instagram though, which means he might miss the playoffs. I'm absolutely gutted for him. Charlie, I'll come to you because we did interview him. Such a nice guy, and he literally said on that interview that he would have sacrificed all his points last season so he could play in the playoffs. And this is, yeah, they've got to the playoffs, and he's got an injury, so you've got a feel for him, don't you?
yeah, I feel for him, but he'll be happy because the Bees made playoffs this year. I
Yeah.
know he doesn't get to take part, but he was a big part at the end of the season, especially where he was
Oh yeah.
picking up points. He got his point scoring game back and going at the end of the year, and really nice guy. I feel for him, but if he stays for Bees for another year, it gives him that more motivation for them to get playoffs for another season. And
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe if they make the playoff final, Will Stead will come back on like a warrior and score the winning goal. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, I feel for him, but as you said, it'll be really nice for him to watch the team as well, play in the playoffs. And who knows? I'm not sure how bad his injury. Right. Player of the season, attacker of the season, defender of the season, young player of the season. As I said, we did release them on our Instagram, but let's quickly go through it and talk about a few players. So, player of the season, I think we're all in agreement. Kieran Brown, it's got to go to him. Captain in the Leeds Knights. I think all of us didn't put Leeds to win the league. And he has just been an absolute. I've just run out of words to describe him, Charlie. He's just been unbelievable, and I think that's a deserved player of the year from us.
Yeah, we've said enough about Brown. Dan, take it away,
Anything else to
son.
add on Brown?
I mean, I can't believe we didn't believe in the Knights at the start of the season. To be honest,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why we
I
did it.
I think the reasoning was because they lost a lot of players
Yeah,
and a lot of key players. You look at Shudra, Hazeldine, Zajac, Barnes. They lost them all, and the imports as well. You got a bit of question marks on the ones they bring in, but I think next season we're definitely going to be putting
yeah.
them up there
And then
if they
MK are
can
gonna win
if they can keep the
it.
majority of their team. Honourable mentions: Herman. I think he's unfortunate to miss out. He's had, as I love to say, a ridiculous season. Gabadge as well. I know we mentioned him earlier, but being able to coach the team and get him into playoffs when no one expected him to get into playoffs, I think he's done really well as well. And obviously, Malazinski, we watched him all season. We have a bit of a bias towards him, but he's had a really good season as well. Defenseman of the season. I've got four candidates. I've got Brock Bartholomew, Deck Barmer, Noah McMullen, and Tom Norton. But again, I think we're all in agreement. Charlie, I'll come to you first. Brock Bartholomew, top point scoring D, 20 goals as a defenseman. And you can just see the difference in this whole team when he's come in.
Yeah, I think for me, Brock just about scraped it.
Yeah.
Just for some of the floaters he puts in on the goal.
Yeah.
He's been a big addition to Hull this year, and Matty Davies talked about it in the pod with you at the start of the season about how he's got big expectations for someone like Brock, and I think he's exceeded them.
Yeah.
He's definitely, for me, been the best import D in the league. He's got the most points for a D by quite a distance, and he's whenever he's on the ice, you're normally going to be the better team.
Yeah.
So yeah, he played a big part in them getting a cup final, and yeah, we'll see how he does in playoffs, but much deserved. And I think his defensive game goes under the radar at times as well.
Yeah. Dan, it's quite new for us actually. It's been a lot of it's been a few years since we've seen an import D in the league, and it's been really cool to see a really forward-minded defenseman in Brock Bartholomew this season. He has taught Swindon a new one in some of the games. Some of the goals he scored against us have been unbelievable. And as Charlie said, he's not got the quickest of slap shots. He's not got the quickest of wrist shots. He's not the quickest and smoothest of skaters because of how big he is, but he just makes everything look quite easy as a D man in this league, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a really like unique play style. I can't remember the last player that I saw that had the same sort of play style as him and D.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we saw the signing video, and he's going doing the between the legs on the breakaway, and he's a D man, and you're like, right, yeah, this guy's gonna be a bit exciting.
Yeah.
And you see him play, and it's so weird, but so good how he does
Yeah.
it, and he can just skate from his own zone, just go through guys, and he'll make his way behind the goal, and it's like, hang on a minute, what's this guy doing? And then he'll just go and snipe it, and it's like, this guy's a D man, like,
Yeah.
what's he doing?
I
But
think
he's so clever as well with like you say in his shot. I did mention it to you guys
yeah.
against Swindon as well. He's just so clever with how he points that shot.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the offensive threat that he's got is very, very underrated for Hull.
The goal which just sums him up for me is 10 seconds into the game we went to Hull.
That's,
Just goes
that's what I was on
straight from the
about.
D zone all the way around the net, snipes it, and it's like he's a D man and he's doing that. Charlie, I know you want to talk on him. Very unlucky to miss out, but definitely the best British D man in the league. Deck Barmer. Wow, what a season. I know it's been a bit easier for him being next to Bartholomew, but don't take anything away from Deck because he has been an absolute monster this season.
It was a flip of the coin for me. On another day, I'd have given it to Barmer. Yeah, Barmer's the best British defenseman in this league. He is defensively, for me, the best British one. I'd probably put Noah McMullen on the same level as him defensively.
Yeah.
But defensively, that guy's so good. And Brock does push up a lot, and
Yeah.
Barmer covers. Like
Yeah.
there is a lot of covering from Barmer, and even with all of that covering and not being on PP1, he hits over 50 points this year.
Yeah.
Over 50 points when you're not on PP1 as a D man. That's very, very impressive for me. And when he was at Swindon, I loved him to bits. And then the best bit about him, he could play 40 minutes and it doesn't look like he's played 5.
Yeah, I know.
He's a phenomenal D man in this league, and you know why he played 3 years in the Elite League. And to me, I reckon he could probably still play there. But I think it's a massive, massive player for Hull, and I don't think they've re-signed him yet. But something tells me he won't be going anywhere else.
No, I think he is re-signed.
Well,
I think
he's
he
not
is.
going anywhere else, is he?
Yeah. Dan, someone who maybe is a bit unlucky because he was out with an injury for over a month. But we saw him near the back end of the season quite a bit. Noah McMullen. Quickly on him defensively, he looked really, really solid. But he did chip in with points as well. I think he's been the perfect D man for Leeds. I don't. Obviously, Brock would have been amazing for Leeds, but I just think McMullen suited the way that Leeds play, and he's just been a rock for them at the back.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to eat my words because at the start of the season, I didn't. I said to Charlie, I didn't really rate him,
Yeah.
and as the season's gone on, obviously he did have that injury and he came back. And when you watch him, he's one of them guys that if the points don't do him justice. You have to watch him to actually appreciate him.
Yeah.
And the way he defends and uses his stick is perfect. He goes into the corners with his stick first every time, and he'll always come out with a puck. He does the chop. We saw him do it in Swindon. He did it about 8 times, and it worked every
He
time.
gets it
And
every time.
he dives down to block passes, dives down to block shots. He's such a solid defensive defenseman
Yeah.
that if you just looked at his points, you'd think he's awful.
Yeah.
But if you looked at him in game, he's probably one of the best you've watched.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see if Leeds do sign him on next season. I assume they probably will because they want to keep that import D man because they've got English talents such as well, they got Braden and Ollie coming through. We'll talk about in a minute, but they've got Howlett, Hayward, Brown. Like it's nuts the amount of forward talent they got. Boycer as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he stays. And the other one, Norton, he's had a solid season. You know what you're getting with Tom Norton. Let's move on to the young player of the season then. A few candidates for this one. As we mentioned, Ollie Endicott, really, really big improvement on his points. Finley Braden, who stepped up massively onto those top couple lines when there's been injuries. Bailey Harewood, you know what you're getting with Bailey. And TJ Anderson. And Charlie, I've got to come to you for this one to announce the award because, again, I don't like this, Dan. We're having to compliment Charlie for his
Oh,
predictions.
mate. He gets too many.
But yeah, Charlie, who is our young player of the season?
My Raiders ones to watch. I know he listens to the pod. He claimed he did it for me, but TJ Anderson, what a player. I remember I watched one game of TJ Anderson. Jack can quote this. I watched one game, his first game. I think he was like a 17-year-old cage boy. I said to Jack, this guy will tear up the National League. You went, are you sure? I said, yep. I said, he's going to bag goals in this league. I said, he's got a shot. He's got an eye for goal. I said, he's a clever player. Went on to score 2 goals at Coventry. And then this season, I think what I really like about TJ's season this year is, I think he'll be honest, he didn't have a good first half of the year.
No.
He didn't get much ice time. He was struggling for minutes. And I was thinking, man, he's only got about 10 points in 25 games. I was like, come on, TJ. I know I could see he had more potential. And then in the second half of the season, I don't know what happened, got put on a line with Latham and Connolly, and he's not looked back. He's getting over a point a game on that line. And wow, frustratingly, he's going to be a big asset for them going into playoffs. And he's on fire right now. And he's a very talented young player. He's 19, and he's got a hell of a shot. And I think he's broken like 22 goals this year. So next year, I can imagine he'll be looking at 30, 35.
He got 26 goals, more goals than assists as well. So Dan, he's a goal scorer, 19 years old as well. That is, he's just been really good. And I think Saturday, our game against the Raiders, he scored against us, sellied in front of Charlie as well. I think that just sums him up. He's such a skillful player, isn't he?
Yeah, he is so clever with the puck. We saw him on his goal. He did a little stick handle around Mar, and he just managed to snuck it in just without having any space at all. Really, he had his back to the goal 1 minute, and then he went and slotted it in the backhand.
Yeah.
He's a really clever player, and he, like Charlie said, he was a really big player in the playoffs last season. And this season, I'm sure he's going to be going for even better and bigger this year.
Yeah, a very well-deserved award. But I do want to give a shout-out to Ollie Endicott. He's probably been the most improved player of the season, Charlie. Pardon me. In terms of last season, he got 9 points last season in 38 games. This season, Charlie, 37 points with 12 goals, 11 more goals than last season. We said that him and Finley Braden were going to need to step up this year because they're the Brits now coming through, and they certainly did, didn't they? And they've been a really big reason why Leeds won the league again.
Yeah, they both really improved. And for Ollie, getting his points totals up was huge. Finley Braden was breaking into that top six massive amount of times this season, which is huge credit considering how stacked that Leeds night top six is. And then boys have really stood out and done really well. I just wanted to give a little shout out to Jamie Smith as well for Swindon
Yeah,
Wildcats. I think for me, he's been most improved young defenseman in the league. And I think he's one of the best young defensemen in this league.
yeah,
But Ollie, Finley Braden, they are top notch talents. And as well as Bailey Harewood, he's very talented. And I'm sure he'll want to be on a team which competes as well, hoping Bristol can be that team if he stays there. So yeah, all the nominees have been really good. And the defensemen as well, like Archie Salisbury, Jamie Smith, and Billy
Billy Thorpe.
Thorpe.
Yeah.
Them three young defensemen. It's
Malik
very
as
difficult.
well. I think we forget about Malik because it seems like he's played in our league, Dan, for the last few seasons. And you'd assume he's a bit older, but he's still so young, isn't he? And he's getting top line minutes for Milton Keynes.
Yeah, he sort of solidified that spot, and he sort of kept it. Even he had that injury, and he sort of come back, and he hasn't really showed that he's been injured.
Yeah.
But yeah, he seems to be really at home in the MK team. He seemed to be loving it when he was on his two-way with Streatham as well. So yeah, he's been in that MK team for quite a while, but obviously had a few games with Streatham as well here and there. So
Yeah.
yeah, that
100.
sort of adds to the bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
100%.
he feels a bit older than he is.
We never
I
give
think.
a D-man probably as much credit as we deserve in this league.
Yeah.
Because obviously, for young defensemen to pick up points is very difficult in this league because it's difficult in this league as it is. It's a tough league where probably the offense is stronger than the defense. So these young D-men getting substantial ice time, especially Malik. He gets 20 minutes a night probably. That's a big thing for these young players in this league, and it's nice to see we've got so many young defensemen in this league as well.
Yeah, there's so many more players we could say. We forgot Ben Norton. I know Bristol have had a really tough season, but this has been really good experience for him. He's made so many saves this season, which you're like, how's he saved that? If Bristol didn't have him, it could have been even worse. So shout out to him as well. Lads, before we get onto it, I think coach of the season, honourable mention to goodbye. But I think it's got to go with Aldridge again. With Leeds, I know you said earlier in the season, Charlie, shout out to Nell. I think he's one of few coaches who could have actually kept the squad together, not being able to play at home for 3 months. So shout out to Aaron as well. But I think it goes to Aldridge with coach of the season, and team of the season for me has got to be Leeds as well. So I think I thought I'd just skim through them. I'm going to push you guys for a top line of the season. Who wants to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay, so top line of the season. I'm really sorry to the people who've missed out. This was really difficult. It's similar to what we've been saying, but in goal, it's got to be Gospel for me. He's got the best save percentage. He is just, yeah, we've run out of words to describe him as well, and he's such a key part to Leeds. At the back, I've gone with the duo of Brock and Declan Barmer. I I feel bad for McMullen because he's a league-winning defenseman, but I just can't look past Brock and Deck. I think they're the best defenseman pair in the league, and they've got to go in the team of the year. Like they have to. So I've gone with Brock and Deck Barmer, and then my forward three, I've gone with Kieran Brown, which is a no-brainer. I've gone with Rory Herman and Thomas Malazinski. Maybe it's a bit biased because we've watched him all season, but he's genuinely got it all for me, and he's got another 100-point season at 37 years old. Unlucky for Svek, Venus, and Ferrara to miss out on that, and Goodbye as well, really, to miss out on that. But I'm going to put Malazinski in there. So, yeah, Charlie, I'll come to you. Have you got a similar one?
In goal, Gospel.
Yeah.
Two D-men, Brock and Barmer.
Yeah.
Forwards, Malazinski, Brown, and Dom Gabai.
Oh,
I think the achievement of bees getting into playoffs is debatably the biggest achievement of the year.
wow.
I didn't see one person predict them to get playoffs. And I saw people predict Leeds to get the playoffs. And as a player, him and Ballas have been unbelievable, and Gabai has been unreal. And every week, everyone said, I don't think they're going to keep up this. I don't think Gabai and Ballas can keep it up. And they did. And I think he deserves to be in that spot. Malazinski, for me, the best forward in this league. And Brown, he won the league as captain and scored 122 points. Honorable mention, obviously, to Herman. I think Herman very close to get in there. I chose to give it to he's a podcast guest as well, which is massive to say we've had Brown and Herman on. So thank you so much to everyone who listens because we were able to get them on. But yeah, Herman was very close to Gabai, but for me, I'm going to give it to Gabai for getting bees in the playoffs.
Okay, Dan, have you got similar?
A little bit. I've gone with a few surprises.
Ooh,
I got Gospel in goal.
yeah,
In D, I've gone with Brock
Yeah.
and McMullen.
okay,
Giving
yeah.
McMullen that spot. And then forwards, I've gone Brown, and then I've gone Herman.
Yeah.
And then this guy, he's more of a what could have been because I've gone with Sobchak.
Oh, okay.
49 points in 19 games. He is unreal.
Yeah,
It I would have loved to have seen how obviously we're going to see it next season, but I would love to have seen how many points he could have got this season if he did a full season in Hull.
yeah.
I think he's played 19 games and he's a sick 5 point scorer in the team. All other players have played about 50 games and he's on 19. I think it's obviously Ferrara and obviously Malazinski and all that I could have given it to, but I thought I didn't want to be the same as everyone, so I gave it a stop check.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think if he had played the whole
He
season,
got
he
the
would have.
highest points per game in the league
Yeah, he
with
did. If I think
2.4.
I think he would have got to about 135 to 140 points if he'd have carried on. Who knows if he would have or
He
not?
played one game with Bristol as well, where he got 0 points.
Well, yeah, that's fair enough. Those are our lines of the season. I know you tried to be a bit different there, Dan, but again, I think they're all going to be so similar. We'll quickly skim through this weekend's results. I know they don't mean too much. On Friday, the Knights beat the Sharks 6-3. On Saturday, the Sharks lost 8-3 to Seahawks. But that was Ross Murray's last game. And I actually listened to the podcast with him and 4,000 Characters. It was a good little podcast, and he talked about how really mentally draining it can be when you've got to do all these journeys sometimes, and you've got a family, then you've got a job the next day. So I do think it's an eye opener to just how much time these semi-pro ice hockey players put into playing this sport, which we love. The Phantoms. We'll go on to that because I think that is a kind of a talking point. They are in Leeds, Hull, and Bees group because they won both of their games 5-4 against the Bees, which is not an easy place to go to, Dan, as we've seen the last few weeks. And then they beat the Wildcats 3-1. Charlie, we were at the game. What did you make of it? Because Phantoms were full strength, bar obviously Duncan Spears. But we gave them an absolute cracking game. With 5 of probably our best players. No Malazinski, no Now, no Bebris, no Cowley. But we gave them a really good game, and our youngsters really, really battled hard, didn't they?
Yeah, they were missing Jarvis Hunt as well.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
But and Gossip, or I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Glossop, I think.
Glossop, yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't too impressed by Peterborough in that game. They got the job done. I thought we scared them a bit because they were so expecting to beat us. But they got the job done. They beat a good Bees team away as well, who they've got in playoffs on the first week. So that'll be a good confidence booster for them. And I think it's good for Peterborough to avoid MK. Yeah. Because I know Slava wouldn't have wanted that MK drama in the playoffs because he wants to just focus on trying to get to Coventry.
Yeah.
And maybe we see an MK Peterborough Coventry. So I think he just wants to get to Coventry and avoid the MK, avoid Swindon. And I think in the end, I think they got in a better group for them. I think they've got a good chance of getting out of that group.
Yeah, Dan, obviously Telford did win both of their games against Bristol. We did predict that. Shout out to what was his name, Charlie? The backup
Uh,
keeper for Telford. It's escaped me.
Blore, Matty Blore.
Blore. He got a shutout. He got his first shutout, 6-0 against the Pitbulls. Fair enough to him. Considering they conceded 4 on the Saturday as well, I think 6-0 is fair enough. But Tigers, do you think they'll be a bit disappointed? I did do a poll on Facebook actually. Which group would the Tigers fans like to be in? And it was quite 50-50. But they are in the Wildcats, MK, and the Raiders group. I actually think that is a harder group in terms of there's just all 4 of them are just so tight together. So do you think they'll be a bit disappointed, or it's playoffs? You know what I mean?
We don't care what group we're in. I think when you're in playoffs, it's
It
get
all
the
goes out the
shit on
window in playoffs.
and
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, man for everyone. Everyone just goes for everyone.
Yeah, it's one of them, innit? Like, if you don't turn up on the days, you're not going to get through. So, yeah, I don't know. The Lightning, though, the Lightning got a 4-1 win over the Raiders on the Sunday away in Raiders. I know we shouldn't look too much into playing teams, Charlie, teams who are going to be in your group. But that is a big win for Lightning in terms of mentally, they know they can beat a Raiders away in a tough rink, Dan.
Yeah, they'll definitely take something from that game. Um, Obviously, I think this weekend a lot of teams were obviously not giving full. All the teams that have made it obviously into
Yeah.
the group, so I think they weren't giving it their full because they didn't. They obviously didn't want to create injuries. They
Yeah.
didn't want to get players tired. Everyone was just focusing on this weekend coming up, and so I think the results you can't really take too much from them, but obviously, like you say, for the mental outcome, I think that's a good little mental outcome for MK.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Right, the toughest part then, that's pretty much the results. The Seahawks did actually beat the Knights on the Sunday, and they play on Friday against Leeds in the first playoff game, so that'll be interesting. The 2 groups then, I'll repeat them. We've got the Leeds Knights, the Hull Seahawks, the Peterborough Phantoms, and the Bees. And then in the other group, we've got the Milton Keynes Lightning, the Swindon Wildcats, the Raiders, and the Telford Tigers. Charlie, I'm going to come to you first to get yours out the way. What are your predictions for the playoff group with the Leeds Knights, Hull Seahawks, Bees, and the Phantoms in? How do you see that one going?
In bottom, I do see Bees.
Mm.
I think Bees will get a win.
Oh, okay.
And I think the game they'll win will be Hull Seahawks at home.
Oh, okay.
In third, I've got Hull.
Wow.
It's a bold prediction. I think Hull have got to really fight for this, and I think it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And they've got a tough game in Peterborough. I think Peterborough are really tough, and I think they're gonna get nitty gritty. I think Bees are really tough in their place, and I think it's gonna come down to the wire. I really do. I've got Peterborough in second, and I've got Leeds in first. So I think it will be within a point between Hull and Peterborough. And
Okay.
for me, I do think Hull will drop points to Bees potentially. And if that does happen, I think it makes it very tasty. But I think it's going to be 50-50 between Peterborough and Hull. Peterborough always have like a card up their sleeve when it comes to playoffs.
Yeah.
And so with Luke Ferrara firing, it'll be interesting. But then Hull have Sobchak. So it's going to be very close. And yeah, I think even Leeds have got to be careful in this group because you just have to win all 3 home games. I think most teams say this. They say win all 3 home games and just get 1 away win and you're through.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done.
It never works out like that, does it, Dan? What's your predictions for this group?
At the bottom, I've also put the Bees.
Mm-hmm.
No taking nothing away from their season. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's just going to be they're in a tough group. It's tough for them, but fair play. They're still putting at the bottom. Third, I put Phantoms. So
Yeah.
gone the opposite of Charlie. Second, I've gone Hull, and then
Okay.
first, I've gone Leeds.
Okay, so you've got Leeds and Hull making it. I've got the same. I think the Bees and the Phantoms, there's only going to be 1 or 2 points between them. I think if it was Telford in that group, I might have gone with Leeds and Telford to go through because I do think Telford have just hit the perfect patch of form to get through. But it is the Phantoms in that group. And I think Hull are just a bit too strong for him. I think those top two lines of Hull and I just think they're going to be too strong. But I think, as you said, Charlie, I think the Bees could cause a couple upsets. I actually think the Bees will beat the Phantoms in one of the games.
For me,
Um,
that first weekend is the most important
hmm,
because
Hmm.
I think Hull and Leeds need to split it,
yeah.
ideally for both teams. If one team takes 2 wins, that is lethal out of them two teams. And for me, Phantoms, and I'm not underestimating the Bees. I think the Bees are an unbelievable team, right? I do think they struggle away from home, so they really do need to get that away win. But for me, I think Phantoms will beat Bees in their home rink. So I think if Phantoms can get that win in Bees and Leeds can potentially beat Hull twice, it can really mess up Hull's playoff group because they got to
Yeah.
win 4 games in a row. And Phantoms just have to win both their home games potentially. So for me, the way I see it is I don't even know, but that first weekend is crucial because Hull on paper have got the hardest team to play against, in brackets the league winners. Why is there a thumbs up?
It's because you just
And
put your thumbs up.
He agreed, mate. He agreed.
and obviously, Bees versus Phantoms, in a lot of people's eyes, that's the third and fourth place clash, as it shows in the league because it's fifth and eighth. So that first weekend is crucial.
No,
If one of the teams can pick up a 4 point weekend, it's crucial.
yeah, I agree. I think the fixtures, Dan, have been really interesting for both groups. You've got the top four teams playing each other on that first weekend in both groups, don't you? And I actually agree with Charlie. I think if Hull lose both of them to Leeds, we've seen it before. All of the pressure then, the pressure on you to win all four of your next games against teams which are considered the easier teams, which is not the case in this league because anyone can beat anyone. But I just think the pressure's huge. So yeah, that'll be interesting. And I think I'm going to say the exact same for the next group. Um, Dan, do you want to go first
I'll
with
go
this
last.
one? What is
I'll go
your
first.
predictions for the group? Group
Um,
B.
in the bottom, I've gone Tigers.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, gone for the Tigers
Wow.
at the bottom. No, you'll be
okay.
more shocked with the next one. In
I know
third,
what
I've
you're
put
gonna say.
MK.
Oh,
I put MK
Wow.
to miss out on playoffs. It's a
Oh
bolder one.
my
It's a bold
goodness.
one, but I've been saying it for a while, so I'm going to stick with it.
Okay.
And then in
Okay.
second, I've put Raiders. I
Yeah.
think that we said it at the weekend. Their depth is going to be very important through playoffs.
Yeah.
And their depth is very, very good.
Yeah.
Um, and they're also picking up some form at the right time. And then at the top, I know I might jinx it for you guys, but I put Swindon. So
Oh,
I'm sorry
Dan.
if that's the case, but I do think Swindon can do it this year. I just have a feeling they're going to do it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I've watched them quite a bit, but I just think they can do it.
Right, Dan. I'm gonna agree and disagree with you. I've got two places switched around. I don't know why. I'm really confident. I don't like being confident as a Swindon fan, but I am. So at the bottom, I know we went wow, but I actually am gonna put the Tigers as well.
them as well.
Um, I right. I don't care what people say. This is so hard to predict. All right, this is so hard to predict. All four teams can beat anyone on their day, so we've got to pick someone. All right, right. Tigers are going at the bottom. I still think they're going to pick 1 or 2 wins up. I think this group is going to be so tight.
It is.
Third, I'm going to go with the Raiders. I just think MK have got enough now. They've hit form at the perfect time, and with the depth they've got, I think they can out depth the Raiders. You got players like Liam Stewart hitting form. That's dangerous as well for playoffs. So yeah, I'm gonna go Raiders second. Raiders in third. MK are gonna finish second in the group, and the Wildcats are gonna finish top of the group. I think again, just like Charlie, I think that first game for Swindon is the biggest game of their whole season, maybe bar that semi-final against Milton Keynes. We've got to win that game. We can still get through if we lose that game, But I think if we win that game, the pressure then on Milton Keynes to get a win at home, the Wildcats almost can feel a bit comfortable, because if you can get one win against Milton Keynes, you then back yourself to win the two home games against Raiders and Telford, and then one of the away games. So you almost go into that MK second game saying, you know what, if we win, we win. That's a bonus. But if we lose, we can still get through. I'm going to go Swindon top. So that could eat my words. I really hope the boys can do it. I think we've added the right players to do it. Glenn Billen, I think, is massive. He's only not made the playoffs once, and that was last year. Every other year he's played in our league, he's made the playoffs. So, yeah, I think the depth this year we've got is much better, and I think we've got to do it this year. Obviously, there was the Gale controversy. He did only get a 2 minutes penalty. I don't know if it will get reviewed. Knowing Dops, it could get reviewed and he could get banned, but I don't think he will. So yeah, Swindon top. Charlie, over to you.
In fourth, I've got Raiders.
Okay.
I've gone for Romford in fourth. In third, I've got Milton Keynes.
There we
You
go.
too, man. You too.
There we go.
As I'm gonna just say how it is. One, I don't like predicting Milton Keynes to do well. I say how it is. And two, I think this is the toughest away group they could probably ask for. They've struggled in Telford, they've struggled in Romford, and they've struggled in Swindon. So they got to prove that wrong, but I can imagine they probably will. They've proved me wrong already this year. In second, I've got Swindon. And top of the group, I've got the Telford Tigers.
Wow.
Okay.
Telford are on the best form in the group at the moment, unless you class Milton Keynes' cup final. They've got Brad Day, who every single season turns up in playoffs. Every single year he turns up in playoffs. The first weekend, they've got doubleheader against Raiders. And Swindon have got a doubleheader against Milton Keynes. For me, Swindon and Milton Keynes split it 1-1. Telford split it 2-0.
Wow.
I may be wrong. Raiders are a playoff team as well. But if Telford can win that first weekend 2-0, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, I don't know how to predict this group, though. Because on another week, it could be Romford top, MK second, and we all laugh. Because this group is literally like a knife edge. I think Milton Keynes and Swindon should be favourites for the group. And on another day, I could see Milton Keynes getting it. It's just down to these one-off matches. And for Swindon, like you said, I think that first game is crucial. If we can beat Milton Keynes, you then put the pressure on Milton Keynes to win in their own barn. And if they don't do that, it's scary. If they beat us, then suddenly we've got to beat a team who hasn't lost since September in their own barn. So for Swindon, that first game is absolutely crucial. And for MK, that first game is important, but not as important. I don't know the other way around, but whoever's home first in the Telford Raiders game, that game is absolutely crucial, because then it puts the pressure on the next game. So I think this group is literally about who wins their home games and who can win away.
Yeah.
And to be honest, probably what will happen, MK win away on the first game, and then whoever's away at the other game will win the other game, and then the next night, both away teams will win. So
that's what happened last year. Do you remember?
Playoffs.
Not last year, the year before.
Playoffs just makes me so nervous.
Yeah.
And playoff MVP for me will be Brad Day, but that's because Telford are top of the group.
Wow, that's a bold shout, but I rate it. I think anything's a bold shout, because you're gonna have to predict a team to not make two teams to not make playoffs. So good luck for everyone if they can predict that. Please do tag us in your predictions. We'll put a tweet out, I think on Thursday. But yeah, that is our playoff predictions. Please don't take offense to them if we haven't included your teams. This goes for players listening or watching as well. Go prove us wrong, because whatever people say, they're going to look like Muppets. So yeah. I don't think there's anything else to add on that, apart from we'll be back next week to review the first weekend of the playoffs. I'm not sure if we're going to get any players on for the next few weeks, because they're going to be full focus on the playoffs. So the next few weeks, I think, is just going to be us talking.
It'll be a good podcast show.
Yeah.
Or tears. Because
you could see some live tears on the podcast next week as Swindon have lost both games.
The Basingstoke Buffalo.
Oh, yeah.
The NIHL 2 playoffs.
Yes, you reminded me. Dan, You went to the Basingstoke Buffalo game on the Sunday, and they went through to the next round of the playoffs, didn't they?
They did indeed. The Basingstoke never dies. There's always going to be Basingstoke something. There's never ever not going to be Basingstoke. Um, yeah, it was quite a good game to be fair. First time I've watched them since the start of the season. I would love to watch them more, but I don't really. I like watching the National League.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really good game. They put up a good fight, both teams. They battled it out. But yeah, it was really good to see some of the Bison boys playing again as well.
Yeah. Adam Jones, the Kel McCarr of the National 2 League.
That's what I mean.
They have got a ridiculous team though, Dan, don't they? With some of the players who've dropped down 2 levels just to carry on playing for Basingstoke. You got Alan Wilson, Pets, Harrowcup has played in the NIHL as well. Adam
Harkup was
Jones,
huge in that game, by the
yeah,
way.
he
Two
scored two,
goals.
didn't he?
Yeah, really
Yeah.
nice goals as well.
And then Dan Weller Evans in net as well. So they've got a decent little team. Charlie, you mentioned they got Guildford in the next round. I don't, no disrespect, I'm not too sure on the teams in that league, like how
Guildford are the
good they
best
are.
team. They won the league, I believe.
Okay, Dan, what's your predictions for it? Can Bison go all the way?
Of course I can. Buffalo Bison are going all the way, 100%.
Oh yeah,
Always
sorry,
got to
not the
back the
Bison.
boys.
They're the Buffalo, aren't they? But we all know them
Nah,
as
they're
the
the Bison.
Basingstoke team.
Buffalo Bison, we'll call them that.
But yeah, I think that's a cool little one to end on. As I said, go follow our social medias at Macca's Talk Hockey. Congratulations to Kieran Brown, Brock Bartholomew, and TJ Anderson for winning our 3 awards this year. And yeah, we'll see you in next week's episode where week 1 of the playoffs would have finished. I'm absolutely crapping myself. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
See you later.